camera opens on Sybil's face as she is walking. It is very zoomed in, and we see Sybil as she is. I think that in the last 2 episodes, with all of the exertion and physical things she's been able to do and everything she has accomplished down here in the dungeons, we forget that this woman is not young. The exhaustion is beginning to show its face. She is tough. She works hard. She is a rooksmith. She is no stranger to physical labor and hard work, but it's different down here in the dungeons with the trials she has been up against, with the fights against rooks she never expected to have to do, anything like that. This is a whole new level of she's about to collapse, and we see it as it slowly zooms out and we start to see the tunnels that she's been walking through down here in the dungeons, led by Thorug, member of the clan of Rings in the city of Oubliette, flanked by her 2 Rookling friends that she has rescued along the way, and the sound begins to filter in from just a muffled, she wasn't paying attention, she's not listening, but now we as the audience get to hear, and Thorug is just talkative. He is talking so much. He's that jokester. He's trying to keep the mood light. His leg looks like it has healed enough that he is not leaning on Sybil to walk anymore, and he's kind of hobbling in front, and we hear him say a bunch of things like, "Look, I don't know what is in those cups, but I told myself never again. I had a sip one time, and it tasted terrible. I don't care what they say, it is, and I'm so glad they're doing it because a lot of people depend on the Clan of Cups, but oof, just purely from a taste perspective, not for me, not mine. No, I'll pass. That's why I joined the Rings anyway." So Sybil just kind of puts her hand to her temple in the universal sign of, oh my gosh, this is a headache already coming on, when Thorug looks ahead and says, "Oh, look, right around this corner. It's right over here. You're gonna love it. Wait till you see this." And Sybil follows, picks up her pace the littlest bit, but not much. She can't be bothered to really push it at this point. She is just waiting for a place to rest. And then we see opening up at the end of a tunnel into the most enormous cavern we have seen yet down here in the dungeons is the city of Oubliette. Ancient columns and arches push up into the damp darkness of this enormous cavern somewhere deep underground, and clinging to the ceiling like a desperate, glittering barnacle is the hanging, upside-down city of Oubliette, de facto capital of the dungeons. Maybe there was a legend about something like this, but I think to a surface dweller like Sybil, it is not something she's ever thought twice about, but seeing it is incredible. It takes her breath away, and despite the exhaustion that is just weighing on her every bone and muscle, there is a little bit of awe and adrenaline when she sees this to explore it. It looks incredible. Lights shine bioluminescent and otherwise, lighting up a globe at the top of this massive cavern where the city shines. The light suffuses as it goes to deeper and deeper depths, but below, the sound of water can be heard. It looks so inviting compared to everywhere else that Sybil has had to trudge through and navigate down here in the dungeons. Thorug turns around and says, "Yeah, it's pretty great, right?" Before you get too excited, though, I should probably tell you, listen, everyone is going to immediately know you are an outsider. You are carrying way too much stuff to just walk around Oubliette unattended. You'd be mugged inside 10 minutes or my ring isn't round. So, look. He fishes around in his pocket and he pulls out a ring with a very specific symbol on it. And he says, "Carry this, wear it around your neck or put it on your finger, whatever you want to do, but you're going to need to basically show affiliation so you don't get messed with. Don't worry, it doesn't make you a member. You can just bring it to clan headquarters and trade it in or store it with the rings, whatever you want to do. We do have the most secure vaults in the city, but this city is not without its criminals. So, maybe you want to come make one of your first stops. Clan of Rings headquarters. Your call. But nobody's going to mess with Gorin unless they want to get, tough crowd. Well, this isn't goodbye, right? And he kind of holds his arms out, and Sybil says, I don't do hugs, but yeah, I'll be stopping by. Before anything though, can you just point me in the direction of a bed? And Thorug goes off on another tirade about all of his favorite places, and once again the audio goes to muffled nothingness as Sybil does not listen and just starts walking into the city. Hello everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Rene Plays Games podcast. We are back in Colostle, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I don't even know if I need to. We'll see how well this goes, but I had my birthday this past weekend, and I was on vacation the week preceding that, so I have been pretty much silent on the social media front, and to be completely honest, I played a lot of games, but none of them were recorded, and now that I have to get my recording schedule back on track, I've realized I probably should have kept up the pace, because now I'm staring down deadlines and, in my own mind, holding myself accountable. But I hope that this gets out on time, and I hope that when you're listening to it, whenever, you're enjoying it. So let's just talk about the rest of October for this episode before we hop right back in. Keep the announcements and whatnot short. There's only one Tuesday after this one for the month, but I am going to try and get 1 or 2 more episodes out in the month of October for spooky one-shots. My wife and I are going to be following up on our star-crossed game from Valentine's with the idea that we had of a ghost and the house that it is haunting. We'll see if we can make that work. And I do want to play a game called Something Is Wrong with This House, if I can get people to do it. If not, we'll see what happens next week. I'm not really sure yet. I could do a solo spooky thing, but I'm just scrambling to catch up as I go back to work and come back from vacation. So, bear with me, but I promise there will be games. There will be games. And on that note, let's play one. Let's just hop right back in to Colossal Dungeons in the City of Oubliette. We pick back up, and Sybil is walking through the City of Oubliette, still with Thorug. And just to highlight how cool this city is in flavor, all of the streets are effectively spiral kind of flat areas around these hanging stalactites, or very narrow bridges or networks of bridges between buildings that are built into the stalactites. They are carved out, they are built on the outside of things, and basically there are platforms that create entire kind of boardwalks and things like that. And Thorug is explaining to Sybil as they walk through, the richest people live towards the bottom. And, because most traffic comes in through the cave entrances, up on the top levels and things like that. So they stay safe way down there, and it's got the best view of everything below. It's the most defendable, all that stuff. But, you got some nice stuff. You might be able to go down there and trade with some nicer folks. And he's talking about all this. Again, Sybil just wants a place to rest. And I think eventually that is what we are going to do, is he drops off Sybil and the Rooklings at a place where Sybil promises to make it to Clan Rings headquarters at some point soon, but Sybil crashes for the night, trading in treasures and, trying to use her surface money in whatever form that takes. And the person looks at her crazy, and she says, okay, I don't know, I'll give you something and kind of empties her pockets. And the person just goes, yeah, no, I'm going to take one of these, and just takes one of her rings or one of her labyrinth treasures or something like that, which is probably a bad trade. But she gets her bed. That's all she cares about. And she crashes. Now, as the screen goes black and Sybil is getting her beauty rest, let's talk about how to play within the Hanging City of Oubliette using the Colossal rules. If you listen to my last series, or even if you didn't, there is city building rules going all the way back to the very first core book of Colostle, which tells you how to build a city. You know, every city's going to have the same 4 things, all this stuff, but that is on the surface. Even cities like Parapet, which have a lot more interesting, unique things, not all of those things have direct parallels down here in the dungeons. So instead, it's actually really interesting. Traveling through the city of Oubliette works like an exploration phase. There's only so much you can travel before you're getting lost or realizing you're in the wrong stalactite, etc., with a few exceptions. There are some fixed places, and they are very important places, so let's talk about them. Probably the 4 most important places in the city of Oubliette are the clan headquarters for each of the 4 clans that effectively run this city. I'm going to try my best, because if you listen to this or have listened to the DMs After Dark or know anything about me, I love putting like mafia-esque kind of organizations in my games, and saying that this city is run by 4 clans definitely gives it a sort of, this isn't organized government as much as it is turf war kind of stuff going on, but I'm going to play it a little differently. I think that there's cooperation, there is conflict, all that, but I don't think it's quite that bad. There's criminal organizations within Oubliette, but I'm going to try not to be too mafia heavy. But there are 4 clans in the city that hold control. There is the Clan of Cups, which is led by a woman named Lisette. I will go into this further if and when we meet all of these characters. There is the Clan of Rings, of which Thorug belongs, led by a Gorin. There is a Clan of Keys, led by Talena, and there is the Clan of Shards, which is run by Moneth. Now, each of these has a role in the city. The Clan of Cups houses people and gives them clean water. The cups themselves, I think they feed people. They basically have gardens and water and things like that. They feed and house people in their housing districts. So, very caretakery. Whereas Gorin and the Clan of Rings is all about the financial trade of the city. They are basically the trading houses of the city. They make valuable objects, they assess and appraise objects that are brought in from the surrounding dungeons, all of that stuff. So they are kind of the major trade hub places, is the Rings. Then the Clan of the Keys are the explorers. They are the cartographers, they are the rook hunters, they are the people who brave going out into the dungeons. Now, why did we meet Thorug, a member of the Clan of Rings, out in a labyrinth? Not sure, but maybe there is some cooperation. And lastly, not much is known about the Clan of Shards. They are very secretive, and they only trade from basically like a ticket counter where you can go and trade in shards that you find out in the dungeons for whatever it is they're doing. Nobody knows their members, nobody knows anything about them. They are very imposing. They kind of have a very gothic aesthetic. They wear robes and hide their faces and all that, and they really don't talk much. So they are an intimidating force within the city, of which no one knows who's a member. So that's always a source of controversy and gossip. So I think that when Sybil is waking up and getting ready to explore the city, she knows to head to the Clan of Rings, probably first thing, just to get her bearings, and then is going to just wander and see what she can find. She's not sure exactly what she's going to do yet. I think I do want to say we see Sybil wake up, and I imagine Rooklings go into some sort of like torpor or shutdown or anything like that. But she takes a look at the 2 of them when she wakes up, and there's a brief expression of sadness on her face. But then as soon as you see it, it's gone, and she stands up and begins getting herself ready for the day. She packs her bags, double checks everything. Then after finally getting rest, finally sleeping in a bed, I think we see her stand up and shoulder her pack and all of her stuff, the new scythe that she's carrying, all of the things that she has collected and just gained through exploring these dungeons and labyrinths, it's heavy. She hefts it, and you can see the strain. I think that we can almost hear or feel the creak of joints as she is, okay, here goes, let's lighten this load. And she looks over at the two and goes, you guys coming? And the Rooklings hut hut and begin following her out. They seem to be getting along a bit better now, but they are still kind of, they get at each other a little bit, as they are wont to do. So, for fun here, let's just go ahead and flip cards and pretend this is an exploration phase. That way we will have a few prompts in addition to stopping at all of the clans, because that's where we trade in the respective labyrinth treasures. We have an exploration score of 3, so I'm going to flip 3 cards. There is the 4 of spades, the 4 of diamonds, and the 2 of hearts. Ooh, some not great cards there, but that's the beauty of this part is I don't know what that means in the city. So let's see, our 4 of spades corresponds to a strange mechanism. Ooh, that is very fitting for Sybil. I think that she may be very interested in that. The 4 of diamonds is a busy street with crowds of people. And the 2 of hearts is, oh no, oh no, I'm going to save that one. And you don't get to know until it happens. All right. As we discussed with Thorug, Sybil's first stop is going to be the Clan of Rings headquarters. The Clan of Rings is situated in the financial district of the city, and it comprises workshops and craftsmen and all of these things, as well as banks. They have vaults and highly secured storage facilities and things like that. So you can not only go here to buy things, you can go here to store things, trade things, sell things, whatever it is you'd like to do. And when Sybil walks up, she pulls the ring out that Thorug gave her and kind of flashes it. And I think that the people of the clan, the workers and things like that, kind of nod her and let her through to go wherever it is she's going to be going. I think that there's a lot of markets here. You don't need to be a clan member, but I think that when she shows this, maybe she name drops Thorug, maybe she says she's here to meet with Gorin or something like that. And I think that one of the other clan's members is like, oh, yeah, sure. I mean, you can find him. He's probably at his smithy, so just go all the way back and you'll hear him and tongs before you know it, trust me. Sybil begins walking through, and she does see so much trade going on here that it is very interesting. And when she starts approaching and she's going to an area where people are making high-end jewelry and they're making all of these things at a massive forge, before she can get to Gorin, the clan leader himself, I think that Thorug sees Sybil and kind of waves her down and yells, and he's like, everybody, this is the lady I was telling you about. She's from the surface, and I found her in a labyrinth. She made her way all the way through. She's been surviving down here in the dungeon. And he just begins talking up Sybil, and Sybil's like, no, oh my god. And of course, a small crowd begins to kind of gather around her, and she is not the type to tell stories or anything like that. And she is dreading having to have this much social interaction when, of all people, Gorin yells above the sound of everything, above the din, and just says, what do you think you're doing? Get back to work! And everybody kind of stops and scatters again. And he doesn't approach, he doesn't come over to break up the commotion because he doesn't need to. He trusts that it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, that's a bigger problem. So as people scatter, I think Gorin and Sybil do make eye contact, but unfortunately, he's giving her a look like, what are you doing coming in here and distracting all of my workers? Like, what are you doing? And she kind of shrugs and is a little ashamed because it's not her fault, it was Thorug. But as Gorin turns around and begins working some more, she sees that Gorin has a small Rookling friend that is like this flat-looking anvil rook, and it carries 2 hammers that it will hit on its own head and make things. So when she sees this Rookling, the Rookling gives her a look and a smile and a nod, like, it's okay, don't worry. And Sybil smirks. For the first time, maybe has a positive feeling about a Rookling. But now that we're here, the book does say every time you visit one of these clans to trade in your respective labyrinth treasures, because this is where you do it. So for example, in the Clan of Rings, this is where I can go and I can trade in all of my rings that I've found so far. Which, if my notes are correct, includes 6 regular labyrinth treasure rings and 1 unique ring, which was the resonating ring that allows me to find a labyrinth every exploration phase of the dungeons, which I'm going to keep. I'm not trading that one in because this is going to be a relatively short series compared to most people's Colossal experiences where they can journal for much longer. For the purposes of the podcast, it's probably going to be my usual 10 to 13 episodes, and I do want to do at least 1 or 2 more of the major labyrinths. But I can trade in these 6 rings, which will get me 12 standard treasures, which is how we're going to equate that with trading for goods. Now, it says here, at the first visit, whenever you drop off however many rings you found, Goran will barely notice or acknowledge your presence. He is so busy. But his Rookling tongs will respond to you like a friend, and Goran will notice that as you leave. So, I think that this was a good first stop. I think that Sybil now understands a little bit more about how these clans work and knows that it's probably not likely I'm going to just get a one-on-one with the leaders, or I need to figure out how these places work before I just start walking in. And she silently thanks Thorug sarcastically for his help, quote unquote. Now we do have keys, shards, and cups as well, so I think that we'll just scatter one of these encounters from the exploration tables in between each of these major clan headquarters. So we'll do it in the order that I said. The 4 of spades, which says a strange mechanism, is the next thing that we will find. And the prompt specifically says, a mysterious machine seemingly part of a building or tower. What could it do? I want to think that, and this is potentially going to combo with our Inventor Job Pack additional rules a little bit, so let's go ahead and see if we can come up with something interesting. And you know what? Let's go ahead and use the oracles from the Roomlands book. There is an oracle table, not just for yes, no, or NPCs, but there is one for story generating. And it allows you to just flip cards, and then you can combine your cards to create a sort of narrative or story beat. So let's go ahead and flip 3 cards from the top of deck. We get a King of Spades, a Jack of Clubs, and a 4 of Clubs. Okay, now if we did it in that order, this would say that this mechanism was built to capture a locked door to another room, and the twist would be explosion. Ooh, capture a door. What if we flip these around? If we flip the King and the 4, it would be investigate a locked door to another room, and the twist would be an injury. Ooh, I like that one. Yes, we're going to go with this mechanism is built to investigate a locked door to another room. And I think that it's probably been here forever, right? I think that this is a known place within Oubliette where people can attempt to solve an unsolvable problem, right? It's the Goodwill Hunting chalkboard that nobody can solve, and then some random surface dweller is going to come through and be like, oh, here you go. Maybe, we'll see. And I think that Sybil sees it. It's kind of like if you imagine, again, if this city is built around stalactites, and then they build these towers that descend even more from the stalactites, and they have buildings built around them, and they have catwalks and boardwalks and, you know, tunnels and bridges and all this stuff. I love the idea that maybe towards the edge of the city, there is a section where some stalactites may have fallen, right, in the past through either too much weight on them having been built around or just natural geologic events. A few have come down. And there is an old mechanism that was maybe like this swinging bridge, so that way you could go to multiple places, and obviously it was damaged during all of this stuff. Let's just go ahead and keep these oracles up. We're going to flip one more card to see if Sybil can make heads or tails of this. And I think that the reason that she's interested is that she has no intentions of staying in Oubliette, and she knows the way that she came is not a viable exit for her. She cannot go back the way she came in and get back to the surface, so she's going to have to go out another way. And when she sees this, there is, as always, people around here talking about how could we get it to work? Could we rebuild it? Could we fix it? Where do you think it goes? Oh, like nobody's been there in how long? When was this stalactite last, attached? Like when did it fall? All this stuff. And I think we see Sybil go into hyper-focus mode because this is a mechanism. This is what she does. She's still carrying all of her stuff that she's got to trade in, and she's still got her 2 Rooklings with her, but she can't help but try her hand at a puzzle or a good challenge. So we're going to keep the resolution of this very simple. We're just going to flip on the yes/no oracle. But as always, low cards are buts, high cards are ands. Let's see what we get. A 3 of diamonds. Oh no. That is no, and it's worse than you thought. And the twist was injury. So I think that Sybil is trying to do this. I think she just kind of shoulders her way through the crowd and is like, let me take a look at this. And she begins working on it. The people that she saw working down here in the financial district in the Clan of Rings headquarters, they work on very different things than people on the surface. So she thought to herself, maybe there's something they don't realize is an option. She's going through all of the components that she has collected from Rooks. She has a switch, she has a spring launcher, she has a bucket, a coupling, a crank, a claw, a lock and key, and I think that there's quite a few of these that could make this sort of, the switch could change which position this bridge would be into. The coupling could allow it to attach to something on the other side, and I think that's as far as she gets, right? It's like she replaces the switch, she is on the edge of this and tells somebody back at the end where they can hang out to flip the switch, and it begins moving towards another section where it meets up with nothing because the stalactite is gone. But she has a coupling, and she thinks to herself, if I could just, create a connection here, at the very least I could start to build at the edge of this or something like that. It would be stabilized. And she goes to do it, and I think that something breaks or something does not work as intended, and she is going to almost fall. And it's a very scary event for everyone, and I think that she has to catch herself, and when she does, she uses her arm to do it, and because she misses with her 2 bare hands, which are holding tools, her arm catches, but it just pulls on her back, and she feels something. Oh, she just definitely pulled a muscle in her back, and that's really gonna hurt. We are going to take a wound to our combat score. So now our 2 scores are 3 and 3. Excuse me, they are 3 and 2. Our combat score is down to 2. Oof. But you know what? I'm gonna rule that a night's rest in an actual bed at a place in a city in the dungeons brought it back up to full. So yeah, 3 and 3. After scrambling back up, she kind of looks and she remembers this. This is going to be something that is going to nag at Sybil and stay in the back of her mind as like okay, that didn't work, what else can I do? But she finds herself wandering, and I think that she's thinking about potential solutions and doesn't even realize where she's wandering before she finds herself, again, we said she was towards the edge of the city, near a shadowy gothic corner of Oubliette, and realizes that she must be near the clan headquarters for the clan of Shards. Thorug, a few things he said did slip through Sybil's trying to tune him out, and she just remembers the rumors, right, that they're masked, they wear cloaks, nobody knows who's in the shards, and the only people you can interact with are the people at the kiosks where you trade in shards. That's it. They barely talk, and they're weird. I think Thorug definitely has strong feelings like, oh, they creep me out, man. Like, oh, I don't like those shards people. I keep it simple. We're honest people here in Rings. I don't know who could be in the shards. They're creepy, man. But as Sybil approaches, I think that she is less creeped out by this. I think she appreciates the just do business kind of aspect of it. She is a solo, an independent kind of worker. She likes her alone time and time to focus and all that. So I think that she appreciates this. And plus, with the aesthetic that they got going on, one, it's great. She feels like it's really cool, if not inviting, but very, very well done. And yeah, she's able to just get what she wants and move on without crowds here, which she does not like. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and trade in our shards here. And do we have any rare shards? Let's see. We do. We have 3 shards, which will get us 6 standard treasures. And then we have the rare shard of Seeking, which says that for every spade that we flip in a labyrinth, we just get another shard. I'm not trading that one in. I think I want to keep that one. So that's going to get us another 6 standard treasures, bringing us up to 28, and we still have 2 other clans to go to. And I think that, just for fun, I think that Sybil is at the window to this kiosk where she's going to trade in her shards, and she's pulling them all out, and she pulls out the Shard of Seeking, and I think that there is a physical reaction from the member of the Cult of Shards, and she just grabs it, and she says, oh, no, I'm hanging on to this one. This one's interesting. And there's a mumble, not really audible words, and a nod that yes, it is interesting, and she pockets it, and there's almost like a deflation of the shoulders of the person behind the kiosk, but she trades in her 3 normal shards, gets her 6 standard treasures in return, which we can just say is, they use some kind of currency down here, and yeah, and that's it. The first visit at the Cult of Shards, nothing happens. That's the whole point of these people. You don't get to do anything crazy. They don't interact. And now we are going to choose one of our other exploration encounters. And why not just go with the other 4 so I can keep that 2 of Hearts a secret? The 4 of Diamonds was a large crowd. Specifically, the prompt says, crowds of people throng the street. Bright lights and noises fill the air. Okay. Sybil has returned to a busier section of the city, and she's realizing that, despite having lived in Parapet, which is one of the biggest cities in the Roomlands, this city feels a lot different. First off, there's no light. It's all artificial light, bioluminescence, maybe electricity or some kind of similar thing. There's a lot of different colored lights, and it always feels like nightlife as opposed to day and night. It's not like it's ever switched. So there's always kind of this energy, for lack of a better word, right? There is no day and night. So to steal a very famous description of a city, it feels like it never sleeps, right? The lights are always on because it's always dark. So there's almost different shifts of people. You're never going to be in these streets where it's potentially not crowded, right? So I think that she finds herself in this big throng of people, and we'll just use that to transition to, I don't think that we're going to even get to the Clan of Cups headquarters, because I think the Clan of Cups is out and about doing their thing. It says here under Lisette and the Clan of Cups that they are always helping people. They carry cups filled with water to offer to the residents of Oubliette. They constantly go around, and I think that this is where Sybil hears more rumors and gossip about them. Thorug said that he hated the taste of whatever was in that cup, but other people are like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, lady. They're all brainwashed, I tell you. The second you start drinking that, you're theirs. They'll house you, they'll feed you, they'll do all this stuff, but you become mindless. And they kind of walk away, and that's when I think, of all people, Sybil can recognize Lisette, the leader of the Clan of Cups, standing out among her own kind within her clan. And there are people offering water and all of this stuff when a woman in a white robe and stark white hair with an arm that ends in a large goblet, like a very large goblet, holding it out in front of her as she holds 2 cups in her hands and scoops water out of them to hand out to people in smaller cups. She stops and just stares at Sybil as Sybil is looking around. She approaches Sybil and, softly spoken, just says, "You're not from around here. You have a softness in your eyes I don't see often down here. Would you like to join me on my rounds?" And Sybil says, "Sure, I was actually trying to find my way to your headquarters. I have been to Rings and Shards. I was told this is where I trade in," and she kind of starts to fumble around with her stuff and pulls out a few cups, including a rare one, and Lisette just smiles and says, "And adventurous. What a rare combination. Yes, please join me. We will go around, and you don't have to hand out anything, but please, I'd like you to see what we do. And we will return to Garden, where you can trade in your cups, if you would like." And Sybil does. She joins Lisette and the other members of the Clan of Cups as they just basically walk around the city. And Lisette explains that they have a rotating schedule of which blocks that they go to, which towers, which stalactites, and, any given day they are out, boots on the ground, giving people water, telling them if they don't have a place to stay, where they have housing that they can use free of charge, all of this stuff. She tells Sybil all about her mission, that she just wants to help people, especially in a place like this, that is not just physically dark, but so many people get stranded here and take advantage of here and have nowhere to go but here once they're here. So she wants to help those who don't have much going for them. Eventually, Lisette does lead Sybil to the garden, and it is beautiful. Unlike anywhere else Sybil has seen in the city of Oubliette, Garden is tranquil. It is a zen-like garden that stretches across 3 floors of one of the biggest towers in all of the city. Inside there are trees growing from the bioluminescent light. It's very interesting to Sybil how this could even happen down here without natural sunlight, but there are fields of moss and small cottages that act as dormitories. Again, this is like a free place to spend the night if you have nowhere else to go. And light filters in through stained glass windows, changing the hue from the bright neons and bioluminescence from outside to softer light here within Garden. The trading isn't even all that formal. I think that Lisette and others, having been talking to Sybil for quite some time, kind of just go through the ones that Sybil takes out of her bag and say, "These are wonderful. Thank you so much for bringing these to us." And I believe I'm even going to trade in one of our rare cups, because we have 2. We have the Goblet of Divining, which will allow us to choose any one event during our next exploration phase, and just choose it, replace one of our other ones with it. And we have the Goblet of Valor, which gives us +2 to all heart cards in one combat. So I'm going to trade in the Goblet of Valor, as well as the 3 cups that we have, for a total of, and because I'm trading in a rare one to the Clan of Cups, they're going to give me 5 treasures for it. So this is 11 treasures, bringing us up to 39. We're pretty loaded if we could just find a place to spend these treasures. And our final stop is going to be the Clan of Keys, but before we get there, I think Sybil leaves the Clan of Cups. It's getting late in the day, but there's no knowing that. I think Sybil's just getting tired. She's having a hard time knowing what time it is, how long it's been, when to rest, all of these things. And she has the Rooklings with her this whole time, and it almost seems like she's putting off another stop. But she is asking around people and saying, "Where would I find the Clan of Keys?" And people just keep pointing further and further to the outskirts of the city. As Sybil is walking through and it's getting more and more sparse, or maybe not even sparse, but just darker and quieter, she eventually is approaching the Clan of Keys when she comes across the prompt for our 2 of Hearts. Just says, a dead body. You come across a body in a dark corner of the city. And I don't know if Sybil knows what to do about this. She obviously looks incredibly concerned. She runs up and checks on this person. Let's just go ahead and ask the question, does it look like this person was killed or died of something else? So we're going to say, was this person killed? And we will use the oracle generator. A 9 of clubs is just a flat yes. This person appears to have been killed. And that makes Sybil even more nervous. She grabs her scythe, her arm sorely gets ready in case anything is coming out. The Rooklings read Sybil's body language and take up defensive posturing. They don't immediately hear or see anybody nearby, but she very cautiously continues. And when she gets to the Clan of Keys, the first thing she's going to say is, does this city have a town watch or anything like that? Because there's a dead guy, just like a 2-minute walk that way. And the people in the Clan of Keys just look at her and then kind of like look out the door behind her. And then they just shrug and then just go, the Cups will come collect that body at some point. Thanks for letting us know. We'll pass it along. And Sybil just kind of looks around shocked at this level of nonchalance at a dead body. But I think that a voice cuts through and says, that's not what we do. Please go retrieve the body and bring it to Cups. You know what it is. And one of the guys who said that the Cups would take care of it kind of like groans and just goes, come on, Talena, I just got back. I've been walking for 2 days. And she says, well, you can walk for 20 more minutes. Go help, please. And she walks down a set of stairs as Sybil looks up and sees Talena. Talena is very confident. She is a younger woman, younger than Sybil, probably in her mid-30s, so young for a clan leader, but she clearly holds herself quite confidently, and she is noted as one of the greatest explorers of the dungeons that's ever lived. She has a mount, which is the specialty of Sybil, and it kind of rolls, and what it is it's actually super cool. It's kind of like a motorcycle unicycle looking thing, where it's one big wheel, and it's got handlebars and a light on it, and then just a seat. And I think that is so dope, and makes me want to play a mounted at some point. But yeah, I think that Sybil sees this, and she smiles and goes, oh, somebody did a nice job with this. And Talena says, oh, are you Smith? And Sybil says, I was when I was on the surface, but down here, I don't know what I'm doing. She says, but I was told this is where I bring keys. And Talena smirks and says, you've been out in the labyrinths. And Sybil shrugs and says, fell into one full of water that was not really fun, but I met these two lovely little ones, and the two Rooklings do their best to like kind of give their versions of bows. And she says, they helped me, and then yeah, I got out of there, and I guess are they all not labyrinths? It's kind of confusing down here. And Talena smiles and just says, well, if you can survive, I think that we're going to have a very good relationship moving forward. I could use more people like you and not those lazy ones, as she points to the men who've now left the hanging out area, the lounge area, whatever you want to call it, the tavern area of the clan headquarters to move this body, bring it to where it will be appropriately interred and whatnot. We do have one rare key, but we are not going to give it. But I think that Sybil likes Talena right off the bat and starts pulling out the keys that she found and said, yeah, quite a few. She tells them which ones came from the cistern, which ones came from the other labyrinth where she met Thorug. And I think that when she mentions Thorug, Talena's eyes she arches an eyebrow and she says, you met a Rings clan member out in a labyrinth? And Sybil says, yeah, well, I mean, he was hurt and he was right near the exit, or I guess could have been an entrance for him. I'm not really sure how these work, but yeah, and then he brought me back to the city, so, I owe him a lot. And Talena says, I didn't know Goran was sending people out. Interesting. Well, let's get you what you deserve for bringing us these keys. And she says, now that one over there, and Sybil says, holding on to this one, actually. And when she holds it, she actually notices that Telena wears a very distinct ring around her neck on a necklace. Sybil says, "You can have these ones, but if I find others, I will let you know." And Telena says, "All right, play hard to get. I see how it is." But trading in our 3 keys brings us up to 45 standard treasures. That's pretty awesome. And now the moment that Sybil has sort of been dreading, which is she's looking around the Clan of Keys, which is a guild or a clan of explorers of these dungeons, and she's looking around at all of these people who regularly venture out into the dangers of these caves and tunnels and dungeons and take their lives in their hands. And she looks at the 2 Rooklings. She bends down, squats, and she gets down closer to their level and looks at them and says, "Hey, you 2, come here. Look, I know we've been traveling and we've been having a good time, but I don't want to force you to stick with me, because I don't know where I'm going down here. I don't know where I'll be going. I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I just kind of want to get back to the surface and back to my boring life, my shop. And if we get back there, I don't really have anything for you to do. So look around. You guys, do you want to stay here? Do you want to explore with these people?" And she's going to look at each of them, and I'm just going to flip an oracle card for each of these 2 Rooklings to see if they leave and go off adventuring with other members of the Clan of Keys. We're just going to flip 2 cards, and the first one that we're going to talk about is our first Rookling friendo, which was the ice offensive Rookling that we found inside of the Rook, that we defeated, that broke through the surface and fell down into the cistern. Does this Rook leave? A King of Diamonds. No, this Rookling is not leaving Sybil's side, and there's an upside to it. Not only is this Rookling not leaving, I'm going to flip a card for the upside from the original Colossal book for when you were to say you were going to buy a Rookling from a Rookling creche. I think that this Ice Rookling looks visibly frustrated and begins like shifting forms. And we're just going to flip and see. I got a 10 of hearts, which says a mean looking one bristling with blades. Ooh, perfect. It looks offended that Sybil would ask it to leave after everything they've been through together, and it sort of ice protrudes from sections of its little Rookling body, and it is an offensive ice Rookling type, and now it looks even more menacing, and it points at itself and it points at Sybil, and it basically puts its hands up like, "I'm going to protect you." And Sybil just smirks and says, Okay. How about you?" And she looks at the lightning one. A 10 of clubs. A 10 of clubs is a yes. And it just makes the bonus one as well. Yes, with a bonus. This electric Rook is going to leave. It kind of takes Sybil by the hand, and Sybil has to walk around with it to meet other members of the Clan of Keys. And eventually the Rookling points at one of the explorers, and Sybil has to go over and be like, "Hi, I rescued these Rooklings," and she gives the whole story and says, "If you don't have an objection to it, I would like you to have this Rookling to go on your adventures with you and protect you." Let's go ahead and flip for NPCs, actually. Let's make an NPC, and we're going to use the NPC cards from the Oubliette section of the Dungeons book. We get a Queen of Spades, which says, "This is Sakura." Ooh. Oh, and then we have a description. Let's go ahead and flip. A 9. A mercenary, sword for hire, lurking, waiting for someone to hire them. That's awesome. I think that Sakura stands up and she looks at Sybil and says, "Thank you. I actually had a rough few explorations lately, and some of my friends haven't made it back, so I think maybe a new friend with a little enthusiasm is exactly what I need. And I think that the bonus is going to be that she's going to give us something. And she says, my last exploration went pretty poorly, and all I really got out of it was this. So I'm going to take a component from the Job Inventor Pack deck, and I got a gyroscope. A small component that stabilizes, communicates a balance to a system, allowing it to stay upright. Can also be used for orientation and basic level computational functions. Very cool. Alright, we are saying goodbye to one of our Rooklings. The other stubbornly will not leave Sybil's side. And I think that we are going to not end this episode yet, but I think that we see Sybil, as the day ends here, look down at the Rookling and say, I'm still not giving you a name. And she smiles, and the Rookling just kind of salutes and waves its hand like, yeah, whatever. And Sybil makes her way back to the place where she is going to sleep another night. I am going to be very gentle on myself and go ahead and fill in the harm that we suffered from our injury trying to fix that mechanism. And we will be at full 3 exploration, 4 combat for our statistics. And just for fun, I'm going to say that Sybil is leaving Oubliette on the next day. She is beholden to no one, and she does want to find her way out, but she needs to explore the dungeons, and to do so, she needs to leave, and there may be maps and whatnot, but let's go ahead and flip one more time on exploration just for the city, just to see if any interesting ones come up on the way out. We have an 8 of hearts, an 8 of diamonds. Well, that's both times we got, okay. And then a 2 of diamonds. That's so crazy. Both times we explored in the city, we got the same number, and then a 2. So the 8 of hearts is a sports arena, a large stadium structure brightly lit with cheering crowds and gambling booths. The 8 of diamonds is an NPC event. Ooh, okay. That's cool. And the 2 of diamonds says NPC event. So these allow you to progress or complete an NPC story, or if you have no ongoing story, treat it like an NPC interaction. And that's the cards that I flipped earlier. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and bend the rules a little bit here. We got 2 NPC interactions. I think that we run into outside of this sports stadium, Sybil, maybe she does like sports, maybe she's interested in what they could be playing in here, but she doesn't have time to stick around and hang out. But a big sporting event is a great excuse to get out there and sell your wares, and this is where we are going to meet the merchant of Oubliette, Corey, and her 2 daughters, Kai and Kalia. Corey and her daughters are the major merchant of the city. She is well known, everyone knows how to find her and get her wares, and she has expanded her trade, making use of her daughters, setting up shops beyond Oubliette. But 2 of her daughters are here working with her at this big sporting event, and we're going to be able to buy stuff. I'm not going to go over all of the things that are here, I'm just going to tell you what we get with our 45 treasures. Although I will say, one of the options on this list is an unidentified rookstone, which I think would be the thing Sybil would buy without hesitation if she knew it was there. I'm going to keep that one off of the list this time, just because, and I'm going to buy a waypoint stone, which costs 20 treasures, and it says, this allows for fast traveling within the Colostle. At any point, you may remove one of the 20 stone pegs that sit in the housing around the stone and place it somewhere to make a waypoint. You may then instantaneously travel to any waypoint you've placed whenever you want. Mark them on your maps to remember their locations. Sybil is going to set one, and she's going to check with Lisette, but I think that she's going to set it in garden. So that way, there is one in garden in Oubliette at all times we can return to. The second thing we're going to buy is an engraved cuirass, which reduces the attack power of all red cards from opponents by 2. So we just needed some armor. That's going to cost us 8 treasures. And we're going to buy a labyrinth kit. Now this only costs 1 treasure, but it has everything an explorer needs to delve the labyrinths. Some rope, rations, torch and firelighting kit, a pack, and a water bottle with 5 doses of water. And why that's important is because if we want to use our rare cups, our goblets, we need fresh water. We can't just take water from anywhere in the dungeons. It needs to be fresh. So this has 5 doses, which will allow us to use one of our rare goblets, which we will do so right as we drink it and right as we're heading out into the tunnels. At the end of this episode, we see Sybil and her ice rookling friend standing up, looking out into a tunnel, leaving the city of Oubliette, the lights behind them, and she takes out the water skin or whatever it is held in and pours it into one of the goblets, swirls it around where it glows a faint light and then goes back to clear, dim, nothing water, and then throws it back, which will allow us to choose one of our exploration prompts next time. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this city edition of an episode of Colossal Dungeons. I am loving it. I love an opportunity to explore a city, and I love how, with both Parapet in the Roomlands, which I didn't really get to explore much in my last, I don't even think I got there in my last playthrough of Colossal, but with a city like this and making it so big and having its own exploration prompts table and storylines to keep going back to it for with the clans, such good design and very clever, because now you have a sort of central hub from which you can explore the rest of the dungeons. So thank you, Nick Angel. Please go check out Colossal and all of Nick's work. He just came up with a card game based on the Rooklings, so it's super cute. It's really great. I backed it on Kickstarter. Probably should have been shouting about that, but I think it had closed by the time I really started this. Anyway, check it out. If you like what I'm doing, follow me on the social medias. Email me at rainyplaysgamespod@gmail.com if you would like to tell me about games I should be playing, having on my radar, anything like that. If you want to be on an episode of Perspective Checks, let me know. What do you want to talk about? And if you want to talk about just random general things, you can always join the DMs After Dark Discord, which will be linked in the episode description of this podcast episode. You can find it. Come join. We just talk games, nerd stuff, life stuff, the world, which is always a fun topic. Anyway, let's end on a higher note. Rate and review, all that stuff. I have a coffee if you're obscenely generous. And until next time, I hope you sleep really, really well and wake up rested.